I was in New York many years ago. I was on a boot camp talking to a girl who was, turns out she's a professional model, and she was 5'11". Now you guys may be thinking that I look gargantuan up here, but turns out I'm actually about like 5'7", 5'8", something like that. That's about my actual height. So this girl's something like 3.5 inches taller than me if she wasn't wearing heels, and then she's wearing 4-inch heels. So this day she's 6'3". All right, she's tall and she's fucking hot. All right, so I start talking to her, and it goes well. Actually, I had a kind of an advantage in terms of the height thing, in that she was sitting down when I talked to her. So I sat down, we're next to a fountain, we're talking for a while. She starts to really like me, starts to get to know me. We sort of have vague plans to, when the bar closes, to go grab a bite together, go do something, right? So we get to the end of the night, bar closes, it's time to leave. I get up, I'm like, hey, let's go. And she just stays there sitting on the fountain. I'm like, what's going on? She's like, oh yeah, just give me a minute. I'm like, okay, do you want to go grab food? She's like, yeah, I definitely want to go. I'm like, okay, cool. And then she just sits there. And I'm like, okay, do you need something? What's going on? She's like, just sit with me for a second. I'm like, okay. So I sit down, I talk with her a little more. We, build a little more comfort, whatever. Talk a bit. And then we're getting to the point where the bouncer's like coming like, hey, you guys have to clear out. I'm like, okay, come on, we gotta go. And she's like, and she stays sitting on the fountain. And the guy's like, what's going on here? And she's like, just give me a second. I'm like, I don't know, just give her a second. So I go back, and she thinks about it for a second, and then she starts to take off her shoes. And so, and this is like not the nicest place. This is like a nasty bar where you would expect like potentially broken glass on the floor, and at the very least, a sticky fucking floor. All right, so she's taking off her shoes in this place. I'm like, that's gross, put your shoes back on. Like, that's just like, have you seen, no, put your shoes back on. She's like, but I feel more comfortable with them off. I'm like, seriously? All right, so what's going on there? What's going on there is, had I been low value, had I been a low value try hard guy, and I'm sure this has happened to her because she's hot, model, whatever, she might be thinking, oh, he's too short for me. But because she liked me, because she was chasing me, what did she think? Oh shit, I'm too tall for him. He won't like me because I'm too tall. And so she was trying to be shorter for me, right? That's why she wants to take the shoes off. That's why she wants to stay sitting down. She didn't want to stand up, right? She's trying to be shorter for me. Okay, so that's the thing with any of these kind of objections. The age objection, maybe you're too old for her, or maybe she's too young for you, right?
It's a matter of value.
Yeah, it's a matter of value, it's a matter of the frame. And actually in Hot Seat I have two different ones that I show and I explain in like excruciating detail. One, the girl's 18, she asked me, how old are you? And I go, I'm 31, because at the time I was, it's 2 years ago. And I just say, I'm 31, how old are you? She goes, 18, I'm like, cool, that'll do, right? And then we're good, right? There's another one where the girl's 21, and so I'm like, how old are you? She's like, how old are you? So I go I think you're about this age. She says, oh, I'm 21. And then she's like, but how old are you? And I go, I'm 26, right? And in this case, she's like, okay, cool, as long as it's not over 30. And there's a reason in one case where I give my real age, and there's a reason in the other case where I lie, which it has a lot to do with framing, perception, has to do also with what type of relationship is on the table for both girls, and it goes a lot deeper than that. But the biggest thing is to understand that age is neither inherently right or wrong, inherently good or bad. It's all in how it's framed. And in the case of the girl that I said 26, the reason I said 26 was not because the age itself mattered, but because she clearly had a stereotype about certain ages, and I felt it was easier to play the stereotype than not. And also because it was a Vegas thing, and it's like always gonna be a one-night stand only, so it wasn't really relevant information in this particular case. So there's ways to play it. There's a lot of intelligent things you can do in various circumstances. And it also isn't to say that for certain girls, certain things won't exclude you. But also for certain girls, those very same things that excluded you from some will include you for others, all right? Easy one is like race, right? Easy one is race. Like some girls will not date a black man. Some girls will only date black men, right? That's how it is. That's how it is. Now, it's kind of weird and it's racist and it's fucked up and whatever. It's also maybe just a preference thing in some cases. But it is what it is. Whatever will hurt you in one case will help you in another case. right? Some girls won't date you because you're too old. Other girls love older men. They want a guy who can like take care of them and like, not like necessarily financially take care of them, but has like life experience and they can look up to and can lead them and guide them, right? So part of it is understand that if you frame it right, you can handle just about anything. Part of it is understand that you're not meant to be liked by all girls and you're not meant to like all girls. Some girls, you are not their type and it won't work out. Some girls will be blah, and some girls will be so fucking into you it's like you walk on water. Part of the job in pickup is being amazing and walking on water for as many girls as possible, but part of it is finding the girls for whom you do walk on water. Does that make sense? Being willing to let the other ones kind of like pass aside. Okay, what is a girl's blueprint? What does she find value in? What is her life experience? What has meaning for her and what does not? That's her blueprint, right? And different girls have different blueprints. Some girls want a very physically attractive man because for them, being with that physically attractive man makes them feel a certain way, or it makes them like feel like they've achieved a certain thing or whatever. Certain girls don't give a fuck. Certain girls want a very successful man. Certain girls view someone who has a lot of friends but doesn't necessarily have a great job as successful. Certain girls view a rich guy who has no friends as successful. Right? Everybody has a different blueprint, a different view on life and what is success, what is what they want out of life. If you can figure out a girl's blueprint, you're going to be very, very close and you're going to have a huge leg up in figuring out how to talk to her, how to communicate with her, how to convey yourself to her, how to get her wrapped up in your world. Right? It's very, very, very helpful. I had a date yesterday, a very interesting date. Met up with a Las Vegas industry girl, meaning hot, because they have to be, that's what they're hired for. And it's an interesting day because basically her game plan was to just get me drunk and use me, which was fun and good and bad at the same time. So I was on a liquid diet yesterday. So this girl's yesterday on, I shit you not, no fewer than 10 occasions during the course of our date, she talked about how unattractive it was for men to be needy. Just came up over and over and over again. She's like, yeah, you know, whenever I'm talking to a guy and like, I can tell like he gets even just a little bit needy, I'm just like, ugh, done, right? Or be like, yeah, you know, these guys from my work and like, but as soon as like they started coming on to me like too strong, it's like, ugh, done, right? I'd be like, oh, I have my ex-boyfriend that I dated for 11 years and broke up with 6 months ago. And he still like thinks that like we might have a future. Fucking unbelievable, incredible. How could he think that? We only dated for our entire adult lives, you know? How could he think that? So gross, so needy, right? But like, this is the kind of shit she's saying over and over again, right? So, when I'm dealing with her, how do I need to act with her? Zero neediness, right? There was no like, you know what? I really sort of like you now. Fuck that. Absolutely not, right? Or when it comes time to, we go back up to my room, we're showing videos, we're fooling around, that kind of stuff. What's the blueprint? This is an interesting one. So if the girl doesn't like neediness, she doesn't like needy guys, you're starting to get physical with a girl, what should you do when getting physical with her to not be a needy guy? What?
Only give, not take?
Only give, not take. That's actually the opposite in a way, right?
Tease, push, pull.
Yeah, those two things. Push, pull, and specifically tease, but push, pull is one form of teasing, right? Actually, give and not take is the opposite. In fact, if anything, to a certain extent, you should take and not give, right? To a certain extent. You have to be careful about that because you can only take, if you take unsuccessfully, that's needy. But if you take successfully, it's non-needy. If you're giving too much, that's needy as well, right? Because that's like, oh, I'll do anything for you, So you be careful with that one. But the key thing is tease, right? So what did I do? So what I did with this girl was tease, right? From the first kiss, pulling away, like she's like, I hate you. Why are you doing this to me? Why won't you kiss me? Why don't you I hate you. Why don't you like me? Stop it. Fucking, I'm gonna leave. She's like, I'm gonna leave. I'm like, okay, fine, take care. She's like, what? I'm like, oh, if you wanna leave, it's fine. It's no big deal. Here's another thing I did, which I kind of didn't have to do, but whatever, it just came up, so I let it happen because of her blueprint. So I had a date with her at 2:30 in the afternoon, and then I had a date with another industry girl, interestingly enough, at 7:30 that evening, right, scheduled, right? So I double booked myself. And the other girl was like, The other girl was flaky. I had a date with her like the previous week and she flaked on me. And then this week, like she probably would have come out, but I just never followed up with her because I was too busy with the other girl. So I just never, like we had 7:30, but we never locked down a location. So I just didn't bother calling her. And then I texted her like after I slept with the other girl at like 8:30, I texted her like, hey, what's up? Sorry, I was like sleeping, et cetera, just to like follow up and whatever. But I actually told the girl that I had another date, right, which is a little bit risky. Because it can provoke a lot of jealousy. It can provoke a lot of like bitchy cattiness and stuff like that. I've had it with certain girls that are not as confident and who like want comfort, where they'll be like, no, go on the other date. Call me later if you want, I like you, but go on the other date. I'm not gonna interfere with that. I don't play games. I've had girls do that. For this girl though, you could tell she took it as like a personal challenge. It was like a personal challenge to get me to like not go on the other date. She's like, you will stay on the date with me because I'm better, right? But what is it? It's the epitome of not needy. It's the epitome of a challenge. You can't have me. I'm not needy. You're going to be needy for me. Making her chase, right? So I teased and teased and teased and teased and teased. To the point where she was like, and girls never say this kind of stuff. She's like, you're getting me so wet. You're getting me so turned on. Please stop. God, stop it. You feel so good, right? That kind of stuff, right? So, which is good. It's arousing. It's fun. I like all that. But that's how it went down with her was I had to be 100% not needy. And actually, even with all that in my favor, a couple times when I did slip and say something a little bit nice, she's like, whoa, calm down. I was like, seriously, that? Like it was, I said like, your dress isn't half bad. And she goes, whoa, calm down. I'm like, really? Okay. I see how it is. So you just really want me to just like be shitty to you. Okay, I can deal with that. It's fine. But that's her blueprint, because what is she responding to? She's responding to value. And actually a lot of really hot girls are this way. A lot of hot girls respond very, very, very strongly to value and need very little comfort because they're so unaccustomed to guys being able to act normally around them, right? Hot girls get hit on more than unhot girls, but they get hit on well less than like sort of mediocre girls. So a 10 gets hit on more than an 8. Just to give you an example, last weekend I was in Toronto doing boot camp. There's this girl that I wanted to approach, and she was pretty fucking hot. She was with a group of 2 other girls who were also hot. And as I was walking down, we're doing late night street game. So they're walking on the street, and as I'm walking to go catch up with them, there's this group of guys like kind of like in a little semicircle around them that are too afraid to approach them, but they're just like kind of like in the aura and just like trying to be close, and they're sort of like whispering about how they'd like to. And like the girls can fucking overhear it, but they're like no balls to actually do it. I'm like, thanks guys, thanks for making my approach more difficult and just like increasing your own blue balls. So I get there, and then eventually like they walked in this corner with like there were these police on the corner, so then the guys like dispersed because they didn't want to be creepy. So I was still a few yards back. I walk across the street, and as I walk across the street, they get to the other corner, and 3 other guys are like doing the same thing. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, how hard is it going to be to approach these girls? So the other guys kind of like disperse and give up, and I'm about caught up to them now. And just as I'm about to go say hi, some other guy yells over, like, hey, you're hot. I'm like, you're fucking kidding me. Like, what is this shit? Well, you want to validate the living fuck out of them? And then some other guy goes, yeah, nice dress. I'm like, fucking hell, this is what I have to deal with. Okay? So 10s get hit on a lot, but they get hit on shitty a lot. Those girls just got hit on in fucking creepy ways 4 times in a row, right? Which didn't make my approach any easier at that moment. And actually when I did, they went into like a McDonald's, which ironically, I don't know how the fuck they stay hot, but anyway. They were young. But I started talking to them, and I actually kind of got blown off at first. Like she was like pleasant and polite, but kind of just like ignored me and went back to her friends. And then her friends went to order, she sat down. I was like, fuck this, I'm gonna go do it again. I went and she gave me the cell phone treatment and the one-word answer treatment. And then eventually she warmed up over 5 minutes, and eventually I was able to have a conversation. She started chasing, etc. Very, very, very difficult approach actually. And made more difficult by the 4 guys catcalling her beforehand. Right? So 10s get hit on more than 8s, but they get hit on shitty. 8s get hit on well. Because there are a lot of guys in the world that can see a girl that's like like a fairly attractive girl, and they can approach and be like, they can be pretty gangster. They can actually like be themselves, be cocky, be funny, be witty in that context. They get to them, they're like, sorry, your majesty, can I talk to you, please? All right, it's a different kind of thing. So for the 10, or for the girl who's like professionally hot or knows she's hot, whatever, a lot of times what she needs is a lot of value and very, very, very little comfort. So that's what I played with this girl. And actually, this girl actually was an online date. And she said that from the first moment that she had read my profile, the word she used was intimidating. She said she found me intimidating. I was like, that's good. I love that, all right? Because my profile's a little bit fucking like, a little fucking gangster out there. It's pretty bad. Part of it, I'll tell you just a couple lines at it. One is like, what does it say? You may find me arrogant and unattainable. That's because I am. And then another one that I like is, I say my notion of a wife at 40 is that you should be able to exchange her like a banknote for two 20s. so it's pretty fucking harsh, that profile. The idea being to definitely get a fucking strong reaction. On the more, that's a kind of a dating site where people aren't taking it as seriously, like a lot more casual dating. On the ones that are more serious, I put a little asterisk and I say that may or may not be a test of your self-esteem, right? But anyway, that's the type of profile, and she's like, it's fucking intimidating. But for a girl like that, a girl who wants the non-needy guy, right, that appeals to her, right? For a girl that during an 11-year relationship openly admits to me on a first date to cheating regularly on her boyfriends. Why you would tell that guy that on a first date is beyond me, but she did, right? For that girl, what does she need? Value, 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 okay? So that's what I was giving her. So that's understanding and reading the girl's blueprint a little bit. But then even with a girl like that, she wants value, but she also needs me to spend time, right? And in this case, she needs me to spend a little time to build comfort and get to know me. She wants to ask me certain questions so she can verify I'm not like a total weirdo. But also for her assessment of comfort is, can I hang out with him for 6 hours without him doing anything low value? Because that's her blueprint. Her blueprint for comfort is value. Does that make sense? All right, so that's how it was with her. There's screening and then there's training. It's not really, well, it is training in a way. It's also kind of communicating. Training/communicating what it is you're looking for in a relationship. Because every person on this planet can be a range of different people. I guarantee you guys act differently around your parents than you do around your siblings if your parents aren't around, than you do around your friends, than you do at work, than you do with teachers, than you would around little kids. You have different roles and personas that you play in different parts of your life. You know how to be in charge, you know how to be an authority. You know how to be submissive and follow orders. You know how to be funny and witty, you know how to be politically correct. And you'll use all those different behaviors at the right and appropriate times. Now when a girl meets a guy, there's a lot of different guys he could be for her. He could be the fun party guy. He could be the I've got my shit together guy. He could be dominant and assertive. He could be sensitive and caring and kind. Right? There's all these different roles you could play, and the girl will adopt to different roles. Right? And say that the girl is with some badass business tycoon. During the time that she's with that badass business tycoon, if she's in his frame, she's going to be thinking like very ambitiously a lot of times, buying into those kind of things, maybe like trying to start her own like startups, maybe like going to like grad school and trying to educate herself, all these different types of things that fit into that frame very often because she's being led in a very positive way by this guy. Then let's say she breaks up with that guy and she's like, fuck all that like type A, stick up your ass, work so hard, this is no fun, it's too fucking serious, right? And she'll go date, I don't know, some kind of like yoga meditation teacher guy, right? And now she's like, that was all lame. And now she's like embracing spiritual oneness, and she's like, you know, very relaxed and in the moment and in touch with her body and, you know, that kind of stuff. And she feels very, very good about herself, feels very internally validated, etc. Right? It's a completely different sort of role. The same girl could do both. Same girl could do both. Same girl that could wake up at the gym, wake up at the gym, wake up and go to the gym. She went to sleep at the gym, woke up at the gym, that's how I want my woman. No, so she wakes up, goes to the gym at 6 in the morning every single day. That same girl in another relationship, in another situation, could be partying every night, having fun, getting drunk, doing drugs, whatever, that kind of stuff, right? It's all about value systems. It's all about what value system she's in. And there are girls, just like there are guys, who are very firm in their own value system and they won't go back and forth, go one way or another, or their range is much smaller, right? There are certain girls like, this is how I've been raised, this is what I believe, and if you're outside of that, she just won't date you. That's possible as well, right? But for the vast majority of people in general, they're very, very malleable. Vast majority of people in general could fit a million different roles. And so from the first moment that you're meeting a girl, or a guy for that matter, but the first moment you're meeting someone, you're not only screening them to see if they're the type of person you want to have in your life or the type of person you think will be a positive influence for you, you can also influence them and teach them how to do it. It's very hard for someone to do what you'd like them to do if you don't communicate with them and indicate to them what you'd like them to do. I mean, similarly, think about sex, right? If you tell a girl in bed what you like, it's very easy for her to do what you like. If you don't tell her, or don't indicate by getting turned on and getting aroused when she does certain things, if you don't let her know somehow, it's not her fault if she doesn't know how to please you. It's your fault for not telling her how. Right? It's the same kind of thing, okay? So it's partly screening, it's partly finding the right girl, but it's also within the multitude of roles and experiences a girl can have, which one are you encouraging her to have? What sort of proposition are you putting out to her, and how are you communicating that you are as a man, right? Because if a girl likes you, she wants to fill that role. She wants to have a good, healthy, wonderful relationship with you, but she doesn't know what to do. And actually, a lot of girls would love to have a lot of things in the relationship that you'd love to have, but they don't do it because they're too afraid, because they feel too slutty. This is actually from the hot seat, which I'll be showing on Saturday. There's a girl I'm talking to, and she starts doing this, it's called the question game, if you guys have heard of it, from like pickup theory from like long time ago. So anyway, she brings up this like pickup game. She's like, have you ever heard of the question game? I'm like, no, what's that? Tell me all about it. So the way it works basically is she asks me a question, I have to answer honestly, and then I ask her a question, she answers honestly, and we just go deeper and deeper and ask each other questions, get to know each other. It's not the most brilliant game in the world, but what's kind of brilliant about it is the questions that you ask. So what you're going to do with this is you're going to ask questions that are related to sex but aren't sexual. So for example, what is a sexual topic that's not sex? You guys may have heard the phrase drug, sex, and rock and roll, right? There's a reason those go together, right? You guys also may have heard the phrase sex and death, that those kind of go together. The point is there are certain topics that are along the lines of sex that aren't. So if you start talking about like tattoos and piercings, that's not sex. And it's not nearly as risky to talk to a girl about as sex, but it's a little bit there because it's not completely mainstream. It's not completely 100% accepted by society. It's a little on the fringe, right? Another one is drugs and alcohol. Drinking, partying, those things are. Taking big risks, jumping out of planes, bungee jumping, almost like near-death experiences, those kind of things, these exciting, crazy moments. That's very sexual because it's very very emotional and very like thrilling and scary, which is how sex can be a lot of times for a girl, thrilling but scary, right? So all these kind of things are along the lines of sex, but they're not actually sex. And so they're safer to bring into the conversation. So what you're going to do with like the question game is you're going to start with these ideas of like, do you have any tattoos or piercings? And then like, how old were you when you had your first drink? And then eventually it's going to escalate to like, what's the craziest place you ever had sex? And like, what's your favorite sexual position? And once you're talking about that kind of stuff with a girl, you're pretty much, you're essentially having sex with her. So that's the idea anyway. So in any case, this girl brings up the game, and then her first question is, do you have any tattoos? She plays the game perfectly, right? And this interaction had been going really well. It was clearly very, very on. So I kind of jumped about 6 steps and went way more sexual, or way more intimate, I guess. So my first question was, what's either the most trouble you've ever been in or the worst thing you've ever done? Right? It was a pretty intense question, actually, for just meeting someone. And I realized that because she got like a look on her face like, fuck, I don't know how to answer this. And so then I immediately softened it and said that you're willing to tell a boy that you've met for 15 minutes, right? And then she goes, great question. And then she sits there for something like 30 seconds in silence, not coming up with an answer. The question is, why did she not come up with an answer? Right? The reason she didn't come up with this is because she wants to impress me and she doesn't know how. Right? She's afraid if she says the really innocent thing, I'll be like, you're lame. She's afraid if she says the really scandalous thing, I'll be like, you're a slut. Right? So she doesn't know how to answer. And so in this moment, this is a great moment for me in the relationship because I can tell her, I can show her what type of girl I'm looking for and how I want her to be in a relationship with me. And so I said, after like she had that 30-second pause, I said, and if your answer is you one time turned a paper in late, we're not going to get along, I'm leaving. Right? So then she tells me like the most scandalous, slutty story ever. Right? But the point is, I not only am screening in a certain way, I'm asking her certain questions, finding out certain things, but I'm also indicating to her, this is how you impress me, this is what I'm looking for.